Okay, we're doing a brake job on a 1983 atc185s. Reason we're doing a brake job is because I was riding one day and squeezed my rear brakes and went to stop, and so here's one of the brake pads right here, and this is what happened. Is that brake pad sheared in half, so my rear brakes failed, causing me to wreck, go off a bank, and having to walk 4 miles back to have someone come pull me out, and because I had no phone service, and which is no big deal, just a easy walk. And so we're getting new brakes. We got 2 new brakes, $11 installed. Springs are in it. Springs are used, and then we have a new brake cable because I noticed the old brake cable was frayed. So to start off with, pull the cotter pin out of the wheel here. Sometimes you can do it by hand, sometimes you need a pair of pliers. This time I need a pair of pliers. And excuse the extension cord in the middle of the screen. That's my makeshift light. Just get a pair of needle nose and pop that pin out. It is a 19 millimeter nut on the 185 and the 110, probably the 125 too. Got a breaker bar here. You'll need an extension. Break it on the ground. That's always something you hear. Even on car tires, break the stud loose before you jack it up, because if you jack it up, your tire's just going to turn. So come under here, get our jack her up. So you have to take the wheel off to get to the rear brakes. Just enough. I am not using a jack stand because they're holding my 110 up, so don't have one available. Hopefully we'll get another set here before too long. So there's just a nut, washer. The washer does have, it'll say on it this side out. Make sure you put it the right side out. Wheel comes off. That is just off the axle. That's not off the rim or hub or anything like that. So now, get you guys in here for a close-up. If y'all can pull this down here, and you can see you have bolts around the outside of the there we go, around the outside of the just around the outside of the brake housing. This is the first cover on it. I'll actually bring you over here and set you up, hopefully, and maybe there we go, perhaps. There we go. So now what we're going to do is go in, pull these. There's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these. They are a 10 millimeter Allen on them. Break these loose. These shouldn't be overly tight. And actually what you have to do, you probably don't have to, but it makes it a hell of a lot easier, is pull the belly pan. There's 4 10 millimeter bolts on the belly pan. The very bottom screw, you can't get to it with a socket at all and ratchet. And then to get the brake drum off, you really need to pull the belly pan off as well. So there's just these 4 bolts, 1 in each corner, 10 millimeter These you want to keep pretty tight just because it's your belly pan. You don't want it getting loose and wallering holes out and falling off when you're riding. So just pull that out. If I can get this last one out, which is in there. There we go. Okay, and then you got two more up here. I had this off the other day, actually. The rear brakes in this are actually out. I just took them out and left them out because they weren't doing anything. They were just, one was broke, so there was no stopping it. So I just took it apart and took them out to get the model number and everything. Just didn't put them back on. Just left them off because I knew I was going to put new ones on. If you have an ATV lift, this is nice too because you can set it up on a lift and work on it. Ramps are good too. You can back up on a set of ramps, and that works pretty good. There's our belly pan. Come in here, break these last couple on the hub loose here. Or the housing here, I should say. Come in here and pop all these out. If they'll come out by hand. There we go. Pretty easy to work on, the 185, and the 110 I have, or that I've been working on, is pretty easy too. It's a little bit trickier than shouldn't even say trickier. It's just different. You know, they're the same year model, but you know, this is a sport. You know, 185s. The S is for sport versus the kind of 110 was more your. It was sporty, but it was just a smaller machine, and you know, wasn't like it was more utility. You could be used for anything, sport, work. You know, you could set them up with all kinds of different accessories and everything. And so there's our bolt or cover. This will just slide right off. There is a gasket on it. That gasket is on here and is in good shape. Next off, get you a set of big ass wrenches, or I use pipe wrenches. That works. That works pretty good. Just a pipe wrench. The reason I quit talking at points is because I go into the other bay to get stuff that I forget. There's two nuts on the axle. One is to hold it on, hold the axle in. The other one just so that way they don't back off. You know, if you know what I'm talking about on that. Break those two nuts loose. They're really fine threads, so they take forever to come off. Slide them off. That'll just unscrew. Careful not to booger your threads up. You got about a mile of threads on it. There's that. So there's two. There's a washer behind it. Pull that washer. Next off, pull the shaft, or this is the brake drum I'm working on. There is a O-ring that will come out. There is the O-ring right there. It's still in good shape. Save that. This should just pull right off with that O-ring on there. It won't pull right off because that O-ring, it's rolling against that O-ring. What I do is roll it back and forth a couple times, then it'll come off. Pull that off. There's your brake drum right there. Now it gets into brakes. Here's your brake lever right here. I'll bring you in here. So you can see here's the brake lever. So here's the cable for the foot brake up here. And there's one more above it we'll install later. So basically all you do is hit the brake. It turns that knob right there, right here. And what it does is on your brake pads, they will go and sit in the circle right there. Will sit on that, and then they'll go on there. And what that does is just it spans the brakes roll, which in then turns wears on the brake drum, which in turn slows down or stops your three-wheeler or whatever you're trying to stop. So we'll pop these brakes apart here. There's just these springs in them. Just take a side off, or both if you want. Come in here and get our pad here, get it lined up flush. Gotta back this adjuster off some. This is as well, this isn't a 10 mil, I thought it was. This is a, I think this one is a 12. Yeah, this is a 12 millimeter. So we'll back that off until the brake drum, the brakes will sit flush. A little bit more. These are way out of adjustment because someone tried to mess with them. And the brakes were, I'll fall over. There we go. So that's sitting flush now. So we'll come in, hook our springs back in it here. We can get it. Maybe pull them off, that'd make it easier. Hook our springs in. Set her back on. Take our bottom one. Set our bottom one in. Actually, we'll just hook it all together at once. That will make life a lot easier versus trying to spread those springs by force. So put this in here. Pull your spring apart, pick one end, set it on, take a little bit of persuasion maybe. And then sit your other end on. That is in. And our brakes are working. So now, what we'll do is, just for sake of ease, we'll go in here on this rear brake pedal and adjust it just to where it starts to move the brakes. Just start to move the brakes. And that's moving it out. Okay, well now we'll go in, install our brake cable here, and I'm hoping I can remember how this thing goes. It's been a while since I took it off, so hopefully I remember. And you can actually, I just thought of this, take the rear fender off. It makes it a heck of a lot easier. I didn't think about that. So we'll go and thread in our brake cable, if I can remember. I know you're all not looking, but it's the best I can do for the time being. And like I said, I don't really remember how to do this. because I did it so long ago. But it shouldn't be too terrible hard. There we go. Okay. So, get my pliers again. Spin this off. My pliers will grip. There we go. Slide our cable in. Okay, now we'll come and hopefully get this wrapped back around. I believe it runs through the front here. Down. Up underneath somewhere probably, or actually probably through the middle. Like I said, bear with me, I'm trying to kind of remember how this goes in here. I'm having trouble remembering. Does it run along this side or does it go along the... I know people are going to be on here going, oh, it just runs right here and here and here. And yeah, it does. I'm a dummy though, so bear with me. I don't know. We're going to run it through here. Right to slide our boot back on there. Here. Put our, where'd our pieces go? Oh, me. Huh. I'm having some issues here for some reason. I figured this would be the hardest part, trying to get the brake cable back on. There, we got her to grab. So, we'll test it now. What?
You gotta go.
Okay. I heard.
Alright, Mom, you gotta go right now.
So, that was my brother that you just heard. Yeah, that did her. That's squeezing it like it should. That's the one thing I didn't put in. Over here, for one last Clement look. There's a spring that goes right here. I forgot to put that spring, and what that spring does is when you squeeze the brake cable and let off, that spring pushes it back down so your brakes don't stay locked in. You can see the one right here for the bottom one. I forgot to put that spring on there, and then actually it would technically go like, I'll pull it off here and show y'all. It actually would go like that, and then the spring, I know, is back in here. Handy dandy spring. And the spring will go right like this. Take our little knob here, stick it back in, put our bolt down through it, and pull our brake cable down into it. Take our knob and thread it on there, and cinch this up until it is touching, until it just starts to open the brake up a little bit. Use our socket here now. We'll watch here. There, it's starting to hit the brake. So that is working. We'll put the brake drum back on and test it some more, but that's how you do the brakes on a 83 185s. Thanks for watching.